Alex, could it be Deja Q? A Q episode we didn't like? What?
The evil-minded Q is back and desperate.
What is it you want, Q?
Sanctuary on this ship.
His powers have been destroyed,
Help me!
leaving him a mere mortal.
Just one of the boys, eh?
Now, alien forces are out for the kill, and only the Enterprise stands in their way. On Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay, no, I do want to just start out. I liked the episode. It was a joke. I enjoyed it. But such a high bar for Q episodes that anytime he, boom, shows up there on the hook, you're thinking, here we go. And I enjoyed a lot about this, but it wasn't the banger that I thought it would be.
Yeah, especially coming off the heels of Q Who, which is one of the best episodes we've seen so far, I believe. I was expecting more out of this one, not to sound like, episodes need to be great, it's like, or I don't think this is great. This felt very fine, especially with the plots of this alien species. I'm not even going to try to remember their names. I don't care. A moon's going to come. We got to find a way how to stop it. It's like, okay.
Let's start with what we liked, because I don't want this to come off as typical target audience doesn't like the episode, because I did. I just think that it's tough for me to talk about this in the way that I would if it were a normal episode that had this good stuff in it, but it was a different character, because it's Q. So it just heightens my expectations. As a TV show episode, it was good, it was fine. But for what we've seen, it's hard not to compare. I'm going to do my best to separate it, though, and just talk about the stuff that I liked first. So all of the Q lore and backstory that we got of, first of all, meeting a new member of Q.
Q! Ah. Sacrificing yourself for these humans?
That was good, and it could have been corny, but I thought it wasn't. I thought for the most part it was done well.
That's definitely the most fascinating, seeing another member of Q and seeing how similar they are, and he seems to be a little bit above Q. And he's like, oh, I knew you had my back. And he's like, no, I'm the one that ratted you out. It's like, oh, that's funny. And I made a mention of it briefly, but I loved when he first gets into the human body, and he just very subtly, goes, it's like a little quick, just like that. But because it's TV and people are, it's like, oh, I'm not used to this, it's like, see, I'm not, it's like, oh, okay, I got it, just pull the reins back a bit. Maybe it wasn't that obvious the second time, but still, it's like, once was enough.
I also liked basically everything between Q and Data in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do not feel envy. Well, that's good. I feel nothing at all.
Form almost a little bit of a bond. I think at one point Troy even calls out Data as like, oh, you're kind of his advocate. And he's like, I'm just stating facts. You kind of figure maybe there is something a little bit there where Data, he talks about how the only feeling he really has is curiosity. And I think he's curious about Q's situation because, as he says, Q is ashamed to be human. Data's always aspired to be human. So it's a very cool back and forth that they have throughout the episode. I don't really like how Q went so far into the fish out of water as to where I'm supposed to believe he doesn't know what sleep and eating is. But that aside, it was really interesting to see him try to acclimate to be a human, especially when it came to the emotional side, like the scene with him in Ready Room, and he's talking about how he's ashamed that he wouldn't save Data the way Data saved him, and those things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel ashamed.
I liked all of that, and I thought that, the plot's throwaway because, we're going to get all of this really cool Q stuff. And we did get some. It just wasn't as much as I would have liked because, the throwaway plot still took up a kind of a large chunk of the episode.
Yeah, I do want John DeLance. He can do whatever he wants. And I do like in concept, okay, every time it's Q, it's something fantastical. What's Q going to do? But what if we just take all of it away? It's the exact opposite of that. Q in all these regular situations. I think that's a fun idea.
Your bedside manner's admirable, Doctor. I'm sure your patients recover quickly just to get away from you. Oh!
I'll have 10 chocolate sundaes, just straight face. All that stuff is great. And the scene with Guinan, that stuff is great.
Yeah, I don't want to undersell that scene with Guinan. That's awesome. And Guinan's become low-key one of the best characters.
I hear they drummed you out of the continuum.
It's almost one of those things where she's good because she's not always around. So when she shows up, it's almost like Q in that way. But when she shows up, it's like, oh shit, what are we about to see? And whether it's a comedic scene or a really intense one like this one with Q, it's always pretty good. And that was one of the highlights of the episode for sure.
Yeah. And I love how Q had a little bit of character development here. His growth and appreciation of her Data, saying, "Data, you're a much better human than I am. Now I'm gonna go kill myself."
Yeah. And I love it's like he's gonna end his own life, by stealing a shuttlecraft and letting this alien destroy him.
Oh yeah, that's the whole other subplot. I give the episode a little bit of credit because we see like this little beam of light come out of the Enterprise and go into Q, and at first we're like, okay, because I think the people saw it, but they go away from it for a while, and then it comes back again. I thought, enough to where I almost forgot about it. Like, oh yeah, what was that beam of light? But basically, just this calamarians, whatever. They're just probing around. They're looking for Q, and they find him because maybe there was a company-wide out email that the Q Continuum sent out. Hey, this version of Q's a human again. Go kill him if you want to. Do you think the whole thing was a test to see if Q would save these people and sacrifice himself?
I would not be surprised by that, and the way it ends up, clearly this guy was watching him the entire time. He just didn't reveal himself until the end.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
part of me thinks that Q almost knew that and did that selfless act on purpose, because you could see his kind of smirk when Q2 was talking about like, oh, well, you did a selfless act. I can't go back and say that right before you died. And Q has a little grin, like almost, was it completely selfless or did he know by doing that? I love the ambiguity. And then even at the end of the episode, after he fixes everything for them, and Picard's like, maybe he has a shred of humanity after all. And Q pops up, don't think so. It leaves that ambiguity where it's not, oh, all of a sudden he's a good guy. Like, he's still going to be Q the next time he pops up. So I appreciated all of that. I also wanted to point out the direction from Les Landru was good. Some great shots like the one with Q on the ground and Guinan over him, the tracking shot in the turbo lift. There were definitely some good ones. I also want to mention that I do really enjoy the prosthetic on Data's head, on Brent Spiner's head when they're fixing his brain. I always love little stuff like that.
Osmotic pressure still rising. Maybe we can bypass the flow regulator.
The effort that went into it just for that one scene, I really enjoyed. And I also liked the moment at the end with Data, which again could have been corny and not well done, but I thought was executed well, where he gives him the power to laugh just for that moment. Brett Spiner gets to do something different, and I loved it cutting not just to Data, but cutting to Troy, Worf, the other members on the bridge reacting to Data laughing, because they've never seen it before.
Data, why are you laughing?
That was a nice little moment, and I'm glad they didn't overdo it. It could have been like a Family Guy goes on for 3 minutes, right? But like they cut it off at a good time. Besides the throwaway plot, I don't really have complaints. And even the throwaway plot isn't necessarily a complaint, because I consider the A story Q being on the Enterprise and losing his powers. Everything else is just surrounding it, but I wish it was just like, this planet with the moon disintegrating and these ugly species, this thing coming after Q, Q2 coming in, do they believe Q? I wish like some of it was just kind of shed off the episode and they just more so focused on Q adapting as a human, because I'm just going to guess we never get this plot again. It would be kind of repetitive if the next time he shows up, I was kicked out again and lost my powers again. So we only get, 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe of scenes of actually focusing on that?
Yeah, that's the whole like, oh, it's an episode for TV. We need plot. We need stakes. We need blah blah blah. It's like, no, we don't. This episode also had very good continuity writing, especially with Q. It's like, oh, Riker, you with a beard would have gone for this, or oh, Dr. Crusher. I see they sent you back here for out of exile into exile or whatever. It's like, okay. Very good show continuity, I guess.
And also his digs on Worf.
Very clever, Worf. Eat any good books lately?
Throw him in the brig. Delighted, Captain.
That was a zinger for sure.
That was pretty good.
I feel like as we get into this second half of the season, we keep talking about how we're trying to set our expectations to not be overhyped by what people have told us, but I don't think any of that is it. Like, does that type of stuff have a small impact? Sure. But to me, as an audience member of the show, when Q showed up is when my expectations went up. That hook is like, we got a Q episode. This is going to be A+. And now I feel like I can't really depend on that A+ anymore. Now this was just a really solid one. Like, I'd still be shocked if we had a straight up bad Q episode. But this was just, oh yeah, it was a Q episode. He did some stuff. It was funny. Got some good lore in there. But I'm not sitting here blown away like I was with Q Who. And secondly, I do just want to talk about, we say stuff like a lot about, oh, well, that's because it's a TV show, or that's because it's an episode of TV. It has to hook you. It has to do this. But we come across these episodes that are so amazing and like aren't concerned with doing that stuff. Or if they do that stuff, it's done effectively. So as much as sometimes you might get frustrated with it, you know, I don't like giving it that excuse. Even though we're saying it to explain it, I know we're not letting it off the hook necessarily, but we're saying it to explain why it's doing it, give it a rationale. But even that rationale, it's like, okay, well, you've done it better in other episodes, so do that. And just a reminder that we're not comparing this to other shows, or we're comparing it to itself at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
We're in the third season, which is supposed to be the best one, and there are season 1 and 2 episodes that are better than this Q episode. It's just very surprising to me.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And especially when you see Q right off the bat, it's like, and then you're just watching it happen. It's like,
When's this episode going to get going?
It's like, and you start, those voices are like, am I stupid? Am I not getting this? Is there something I don't understand? And, it's like, oh, it's something, the war triangle, pull the tractor beam. It's like, okay.
Yeah. None of that really happens to me. I don't care that I'm stupid or I've accepted it. I don't know which it is, but it's like, I don't give a shit. Like, if I don't like it, I don't like it.
There's over 2 years of documented evidence of what I like. So you can't be I know we get new people quite often, but you can't be shocked at what I like and what I don't like. And I'm in my old age, I've discovered like that old saying, you can't teach old dogs new tricks. Like, I like what I like. You know what I mean? It's like, I found a new favorite movie this past year with 12 Angry Men, but it literally checked every single box of stuff I liked. I just happened to not see it. Some of these banger episodes going to have things I don't necessarily care for, and they're bangers for different reasons, and I would consider a bang. I don't know. I'm getting worried.
I mean, even if that's the case, though, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, if that's the case, it's just a matter of finding what you like then. Like, or finding the stuff like 12 Angry Men that fits what you like, because it exists.
I'm just saying, are these greatest episodes of TV since, sliced bread, are those going to fall under stuff in my categories, or is it going to fall out of it? And I'm like, even though I just don't care for it, I'm a little worried.
Yeah, well, that is an interesting point. I think I've built up enough confidence in the show by this point that I wouldn't say I'm worried, as to more of, I don't want to be disappointed, I guess, because like the show has already built up that it can give these like incredible episodes of TV.
True.
So I just, it's unrealistic of me to want that every single time, but I can't help it,
Yeah, because also there's episodes that we think are like amazing, and people are like, oh yeah, that one, forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one's fine. I'm like, what do you mean it was fine? It was great.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder, is that going to be flipped on its head?
I mean, again, all that stuff, I don't care. I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad if people like stuff that we don't, but if I really love an episode and other people didn't connect with it, like, I still get to love it, So that's the point, I think.
Yeah, true.
I will say, though, that you're talking about, like, we like what we like. I would not be surprised if, when we get to the patron takes Friday on YouTube, they expect us to like it, because in their mind, all this Q character stuff, good moments of Q and Data. And I did like that stuff. It just, to me, didn't meet the level of making this episode excellent. And if this was, I just feel like Q, up until now, put the episode in a different league for me. Like, it put it like, oh, this isn't just a TNG episode. It's a Q episode. It's a grading on a curve, basically. So just this solid episode seems not as shiny, because it should be really good. It's Q. But just to us, it wasn't.
Alex and Josh, feel the target audience on a cosmic journey, feeling so immense. They're sitting in a room, ready for the show. Star Trek Next Generation, Season 3, let's go! The first time they've seen this sci-fi sight, only going when romance gone day and night. Synth-pop beats fill the atmosphere, their minds are racing, filled with wonder and cheer. Cosmic journey.
Did you, the entire episode, think he was telling the truth and didn't have his powers? Was there any point where you thought maybe he was lying or tricking?
There was a few moments where like Q like really dropped, his ah voice, and really was like very genuine in what he was saying. I'm like, I believe him. There's a few moments where he did that, because whenever Q talks, it's always that same
Yeah.
But there's a few moments where it was just like he was just talking like this, and like, got it, bought it.
I believed him, I'd say like 75% up until, I'll just say, I feel like this, how I feel about Wrath of Khan. Yeah, it's good.
They're gonna regret saying that.
Cosmic journey, avoiding some ground. Alex and Josh, their spans, they now stand.
You're more human than I am. Now I'm gonna go kill myself.
Yeah.